It's not that I'm over you, not over, girl, but I got things to do. It's so much to be your boyfriend, too much. And you ain't making this much easier. If I only knew this, when I used to be your best friend. You see me blowing up, don't act like I'm average. You want me home, I get you what you want. Superstar status, you want me alone. Baby, I'm acting. You held me up when I was down and out, but I don't want you waiting around for me. I don't want you waiting too long.
See, I'm a star, look at me from afar. Hard to be down to earth when you nesting on Mars. You comment on how I move, too much space to assume, but I'ma tell you the truth. Shit, now when I'm gone and I roam round the globe for 3 months, that's too long. Without something that's sweet, so I phone little treats. That's a snack, not a feast. They don't mean much to me, cause I know that I have a bakery back at home. Am I wrong for...
Don't act like I'm average. You want me home, get you what you want. Superstar status, you want me alone. Baby, I'm acting. You held me up when I was down and out, but I don't want you waiting around for me. I don't want you waiting too long. I don't want you waiting too long. You held me up when I was down and out, but I don't want you waiting around for me. I don't want you waiting too long. I don't want you waiting too long. I was outside every day, trying to make it home to you, babe. When I get on, it's gonna be amazing. When we get it on, it's amazing. Let's talk about us if you hear me out. They only love me cause they see me getting money now. Fuck the whole front row at the show if you ain't there. Don't nobody got you like I do.
But you know that.
Can't nobody patch you up like new. I know your flaws, I know what makes you who you are, girl. I wish I had all the answers to your heart.
You alright?
What the fuck? You know I'm not from LA. I don't have any family out here, so I have no support system during my pregnancy, and you said, don't worry about it, that you were the only love and support I needed. What the fuck happened to that? I feel very fucking alone. And if you meant what you said, that should really concern you. You respond very fast to every bitch except the person that's carrying your child. Wow.
They say every bitch, that's crazy. This is my manager texting me. It's cool though. I'm gonna kill this drink and just wait downstairs for my ride to the airport because I don't wanna make you more upset. Bye, baby. Bye, little baby. Daddy be back soon. All right, love you. I'm all right then. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Goodbye, Chris.
Okay, everything should be set up now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today is the 7th, or excuse me, the 13th of July. I was up last night, so it's naturally that I was going to show up late today. I had an experience of a conversation which pretty much puts into perspective exactly how detrimental the Stop Killing Games movement was wrecked by pirate software and the supposed developers in the middle that want to inform us and talk to us, just simply not either understanding what the actual landscape looks like, let alone our own fucking arguments and conversations. That shit was depressing. Saffronet, your logo is different. Saf's logo is different. Interesting. Okay, so it's pretty much where we are on the midline of everything. I have now created a tool where it is possible for people to clip by not necessarily having to press buttons on any of the live stream platforms where we are broadcasting, but by being able to type exclamation clip. Everyone has use to the feature right now. If you abuse the feature, I'm going to only turn it on for specific people. You've been warned. Hello, Saffronet. I didn't recognize this you at first. You changed your manner.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't recognize that as you was first because you changed your profile picture and banner.
Oh, I changed it as like a kind of like an in joke between some friends of mine. Like we all changed it to like anime profile pics to like kind of play a joke on somebody.
Okay. What can I do for today, Saf? What can I do for today, Saf?
I am pretty tired. I'm still sleepy, even though I went to bed kind of early. Yesterday, the convention Anime Matsuri was happening, and I didn't know, so I wasn't exactly prepared for it. That's probably why I'm so tired now.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, for the short time I was there, I had a nice time. I saw Vic there, and I got another picture signed for him, and I have an actual picture with him. It's always very nice man to talk to, conversate with.
Okay. And what did you want to talk to me about today?
Hello?
Yes. Can you not hear me?
Uh, I hear you, but were you gonna say something or?
No, I was waiting for you to tell me what was important about Monument Missouri, because I assume you have a topic you wanted to talk to me about.
Oh, I mean, let's see. Well, ironically, I found out it was happening because I happened to tune in on Wednesday to Vic's stream, and he said he was gonna be there, and I was like, wait a minute, it's happening in July? Because the other couple of years it's been happening in August, like around my birthday, on the weekend.
Okay.
But you know, I was encouraged to come by him, and I was like, okay, I'll see what I can do because I wasn't exactly prepared for it. Um, from when I looked at the schedule, there were a couple interesting things. There were the creators of SWAT Cats were there, and they had like a booth there, and they had like some panels of talking about possibly reviving it. I don't know all the details. I may have to look it up another time. Uh, Dan Southworth was there as a guest. I saw him in the distance, and I did want to stand in line to meet him, but I was like, wait a minute, I have to probably stand in line for Vic for a while. Maybe I have to wait for that.
Okay. Anything else happen?
Uh, Other than that, it looked kind of light on the attendance, and I don't know, it's because of some of the stuff that's been happening in Texas.
Okay.
Or I don't know I don't know when Anime Expo happens, but people tell people that go to Matsuri is like, you have to go to AX instead. Anime Matsuri is like unethical and you should go there. And I'm like, okay. And then I see how AX is managed, and I'm like, you know what? I'd rather just stay here.
Okay. Did you have any other experiences that you want to tell the people about?
Do you have anything to say, Carl?
What was that? Are you not able to hear me at all, Seth?
Did you have anything to say?
No, not really. I'm just listening to you.
Collect the scrap.
Oh, okay.
We can use that energy to launch helpful emplacements for you.
But
Your
I
trench
didn't
is
spend a
equipped
whole
with
lot
powerful magnet
of time
you can
there.
activate to help collect scrap.
Okay. It appears that you don't necessarily have a lot you want to talk about, Seth.
Well,
Nicely done.
I think I haven't seen much going on. Let's see.
You'll need to watch our flank too. Get a turret down on the second emplacement base to guard the other.
I mean,
side
the
of the
only
ship.
thing I've kind of been keeping up with was the stop killing games thing,
Great.
and how that's caused a whole chain reaction of events, and how what like actual developers and companies are getting involved against it, and I'm very puzzled by that.
So I take it you read the thread that I had last night, that I entered the stream with, that I was talking about just
No,
earlier.
no, I've watched other streams where you did talk about it. You talked about it like I went into like Pirate Software and his reaction and things that he said.
So you didn't see the thread last night where I was talking to one of those said developers, and he didn't understand a single thing I was fucking talking about.
No, I may have missed it. I apologize.
That's okay. So what is your opinion?
The tubes are getting stronger. Let's use some scrap to increase an emplacement's efficiency.
My opinion is that
Good job.
it's
Now we're
unfortunate that something is like trying to make your own servers.
Or when Alex eventually joins the broadcast, as he told me that he would earlier, because he was also up last night playing Helldivers with me, where they want something in the same line of what something such as Iron Brigade would offer, or any of the private server games that I've worked on would offer. Something along or roundabout the position of, we want the ability to make private servers or to make peer-to-peer connections. I'm not asking for anything extreme in that way. We're just constantly being told we can't have these things because it's impossible for us to find them.
Good job,
When
Marine.
in truth, they actively do not attempt to provide this information because they just don't respect the player base in general. when it comes to the intelligence of the people who are in the middle of the field, trying to communicate that all they simply want to do is play with their friends and experience a specific type of content that they otherwise would not have the ability to get because that content isn't being given to them by the nature of them saying it's too difficult, it's too hard to plan for, we don't know exactly how it is you work that. Multiple kinds of examples of reasoning that come down to we don't want to give you what we want because we don't like you as consumers, which is very strange from the onslaught of what most of us pretty much agree has to be an implicit choice. Because if it's not a choice, it is the strangest level of non-understanding of the asset that we could probably be able to arrive at in general. Which is, that's without even mentioning the position that Pirate Software somehow kept claiming people wanted to have, which is not what people wanted in the beginning whatsoever either. People didn't want to enslave developers into having to work inside of the editing cuck shed. What they did want, however, is the ability to stop signing contracts that say that they deserve to have the right to force us to destroy ownership of our content in perpetuity within the known universe, and also, if you ask for anything more than just simply buying a license to a video game, they're going to actively say, no, we won't give it to you. This has been an ongoing conversation for the last about 20 years. Although most people have only really experienced it within their lifetime, so it's going to feel more like 10 to 15. Most issues get left on the cutting room floor, whereas the developers don't have choices. They're not allowed to talk to anyone. They're not allowed to talk to the player base that even plays their game in the first place. And usually it is the developer that then tells them that we can't get solutions for the problem. Because at some point in time, if they were attempting to work towards some type of stable solution, they would be then told by the publisher, you're not going to do that. It has always been a top-down issue. They tell them, you're not getting this, and the customers aren't even told why they can't receive it. They're just given a response that equates to, you do what we tell you. The reality of this problem creates this current field that we have right now, which is that the issue constantly gets litigated through the mouth of babes. So, for people like myself and Dimitri Monroe, we are fans of something like Mega Man 8-Bit Deathmatch, which effectively is being ran on the Doom 2 WADs, using texture skins to alter the guns, the weapons, the characters, and doing so without needing a single bit of input from Capcom. We don't have to ask them for permission to do that with Mega Man. We just can do it, because the assets and materials can be created and already exist, and the editor, in order to make the levels, have been provided to the player base since forever. For other people, like, say, any person who's ever been a fan of MapleStory, they have access to making use of different types of tools that now allow them to make things officially under the broadband wave of Nexon in the form of MapleStory Worlds, which equates to effectively Roblox but in MapleStory format. Jump quests, timed combat examples, timed combat trials, boss rushes, and then the private servers that exist in perpetuity of various different stages of content, both pre-Big Bang, post-Big Bang, and just general low-rate, low-XP private servers that allow people to have fun with each other. No matter how many ways you design it, forwards or backwards, there is no way that you can approach a position where somehow none of this is understandable for what people want from the player base, or what they want from the industry. Because the majority of us have made it very clear that this doesn't require anything from them to do this. In fact, most people even accepted that this is the case. But every single time, we are presented an argument as though this is impossible to provide to the player base and the consumers because they don't understand how litigious it is. They don't understand the actual field of what they're asking for. when in reality, the majority of what we simply want is the ability to get that peer-to-peer access, with everything else being left up to whether or not the actual tools are provided. I've provided plenty of examples, both with my own personal experience from developing, as well as from existing in this field, that the hackers have already had this the right way around the entire time. With the exception of live service games, which we never attempt to crack, we will play with your source code for fun and develop our own original content. We've been doing it for years with retail versions of games to make private server versions of the games in the time periods that we prefer, before they attempted to basically make everything into an amusement ground theme park, where the retail version of the game is basically a amusement park, and the amount of content that you're doing, you're not playing the content, you're playing the patch. So every single bit of content in every video game becomes transient. World of Warcraft, OSRS, depending on the content that you're doing. Seasons of material inside of certain parts of updates from your favorite live service video games that require subscriptions, which does not include things like Final Fantasy 14, but does include things like Phantasy Star Online 2, which has been a zombie of its own industry and movement ever since the American player base was fucked over by a bunch of fucking blue hairs. And the only people who remain there are those that were willing to play in what was left over, when the majority of the rest of the player base went back to their Japanese accounts, because the Japanese version of the game remains unspoiled. It's just the people that are inside the ecosystem when it comes to the American taxpayer. Whether it be private servers, peer-to-peer access, some version of the content that exists where we can have the ability to at least play it. This being the example that was being discussed by people such as the other Frost and Ross of Stop Killing Games, where the game itself exists in some function where it basically now exists as a museum. It doesn't have all the content that is available for that state of play for the video game, but it does have enough content where a person could be able to play it. So you could never go back to Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 and play the beginning of the content all the way through the patch states, even though this would be something that people would definitely want. And you could never go back to the true beginning of the development of Warframe and play through all the story content patches as they exist. But you could go back to the beginning of the final update of the game. So, if Destiny 2 never gets another patch, and the last state of the game currently is the final shape, you can get the final shape, have access to all the content that was live during the heyday of the final shape, and be able to play it with your friends without having any interaction with the company, or what most people are more than willing to have, which is some capacity of the game in a format that does not require online content consumption for single player game usage. So if your video game is designed from the beginning to have online capabilities, but those online capabilities only really amount to a lobby system that then allows you to play against other people in some type of ecosystem, such as the Butcher Circus of Darkest Dungeon, you have a video game that is 1 parts or 3 parts a piece of content that then gives you and everyone else that you're playing with the ability to interact in a way where your game is not affected across the pond by the other, but you still exist in the same ecosystem. So, drag and drop gameplay, lobby-based gameplay, couch co-op gameplay, all connected with the online features, but does not require pinging an online server. Which pretty much is Iron Brigade, which is what I'm currently playing on screen right now while I'm talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
The industry has decided there is no way to provide this without them raping us in the ass for money. It's impossible. It can't be done. Which is a lie. Which is why most people are annoyed by this.
Emplacements come in 3 categories: light weapons, heavy weapons, and support. Experiment with different emplacement loadouts to take down the tubes.
So, no matter how we, the customer, attempt to explain this to the business, there are multiple publishers that refuse to actually talk to the customer because they believe that they can make the money back up on the side of the customer, on the side of the developer, by just pushing them to crunch themselves to death trying to deliver content. But what this happens is that this puts the developer in a position where they don't actually have the ability to get us what we want and what we're asking for, because what we then ask them for, they can't give us. Because the material that we have asked them to give us can only exist when they provide it to us within a timely fashion. So, as a reference point, for me, when developers like Writing Your Games say, we're no longer going to be going off of a, we'll post it when it's done, we already know what's going into the patch, and we are posting patches because they are feature complete, and we are aiming for time dates, not feature dates. That is an example of no longer rushing themselves into a crunch state. Because now, when the content has been planned, it is planned and shipped, and when it is ready, it is brought out to you. This means there's no anxiety from the player expecting for patches that will then give them content to play, and then them say, there's nothing in this content, and then bouncing themselves around 5 to 15 different live service video games just because they want to find something to play with their friends. Instead, it becomes 3 to 5 live service video games, usually off and on in a season, based on when the players playing the game are then done with the game, and then at least 10 to 15 different lobby-based multiplayer experiences while they fill the time in between, and multiple single-player games to fill the tone. So, for myself right now, that means I bounce between Exile 1, Exile 2, and Helldivers 2. Whenever I'm not doing something, off camera, I've been playing Doom Dark Ages. When I get time to have the ability to sit down and do it without interruptions, I'll then return to and then complete on camera Expedition 33. And in the meantime, I have multiple different lobby service games, which, looking at my list, includes the likes of the Iron Brigade, Don't Starve Together, Rainbreaker, Balatro, Wall World, Ampersat, Trading Guard Game Simulator, Journey to Intermentalia, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Next Jump Shoot 'em Up Tactics, Date Everything, Thanks Horror, SteamWorld Dig, Legends of Mana, Wedges of the Legends 2, Section 13, Hellslave, Krusty Industry, The Deadly Path, Deep Black Galactic Survivor, Shattered Pixel Dungeon, other live service games such as Monster Hunter Wilds, should I choose to pick it back up for Title Update 2, Repo, Corpse Keeper, Death Must Die, Mortal Sins, Gyromancer, Heretics Force, Avowed, if I ever sit back down to finish that review and put that review out, Devil May Cry 5, Gundam Breaker 4, Kill Knight, and so on. Multiple different video games, either single player or some form of always online with single player format, that don't require an online connection in order to play the base game. But if wanting to play it with other people, I would need to connect to an online game state in order to play that game with another person. Whether they be a JRPG, or they be some variation of a beat 'em up, shoot 'em up, whatever you want to call it. I have the ability to do this, and not a single developer has to be forced to be shackled to do the job that supposedly is being asked of them. This is long since the days of Blizzard and the surprise mechanics of loot boxes. It's not even about the loot boxes anymore. It's about the fact that when I pay you for a video game, I expect a video game, not a license to the access of a video game. And somehow, last night, when I tried to communicate this to a developer whose immediate words to me were that, nah, you don't know what you're talking about, because this is what I think, and here's all my credentials. He puts his on the table, and then I put mine on the table. Suddenly, he can't understand what the fuck I'm saying to him, Because when I communicate this very simple breakdown of our opinions in the field, the majority of us have witnessed, not even needing to mention pirate software, just mentioning how litigious and aggressive they have been against us. Somehow, he does not get even the simplest 3-point sentence of the hill that we're currently dying on. And by we, I mean everybody in the industry that it is dying on. Because for people like Horror, they will not play these video games that have kernel access to them, because they don't want to have kernel access anything on their setups, because you shouldn't need to have kernel level access in order for you to be able to manage cheaters, modders, and hackers in a video game that effectively amounts to an always online lobby system, where we would still have control as the people starting the session as to who's in our session to begin with anyways. For people like myself, we care about ownership of our process and our products and our account, and we do not consent to having to give ownership of our material in perpetuity within the known universe to all sides of existence, as though that material requires you to have that access. Because whether or not it's games like Knockout City that now puts the actual frameware into things like Steam so that you don't need to play around with Hamachi, or at the very hardest level of it, using Hamachi to create an online connection so that you can compete against other players playing.
Hold on, Pearl. I might have to call you back in a second. I'm getting a call from somebody else.
Okay.
Or I can just mute myself. Hold on.
Well, I don't know how long you're going to be on the call, so I'm just going to let you go for the time being. And if you want to come back to continue whatever it is that you will have to say, I'll let you do that, okay? Let me continue with what I'm saying because it's important. When a developer can't understand the simple points that I have right here on camera, on screen, it leads to a sheer computation of mind and mainframe, because regardless of the approach of it, people like Horror need to not be nickel-taxed and dined for kernel root access to their computers. Players like myself want to have true ownership of our content, not be owned in perpetuity, that we are being given permission to an account, which then puts us at the havoc of rules that are based in a system where there is no true control being given or taken from users in general, yet they are constantly demanding us to give some level of expectation for the content in general, or something even closer to the state and nature that for the majority of the player base and the majority of the consumer base as a whole, the bean counters, in their infinite wisdom or lack thereof, are responsible for leaving money on the cutting room floor and on the cutting room edge for the developers, where the publishers tell them to keep pushing, even though they can't actually get reasons to create content around what they're pushing, leading to money men and figureheads such as Duval Magic, Randy Pitchford, to speak on behalf of an entire industry, while people inside of his own studios have their own strong opinions. There is a way for us to make money, and there is a way for us to meet each other and shake hands above the board the entire time. And unfortunately, that has not happened, because there are developers that aren't communicating their opinion because they're being crunched to death. And somehow, through this entire conversation with this particular developer, named Ollie Barter, worker of, I believe this said, Cozy Games, because I was asked what my qualifications were, and they posted their qualifications. Oliver Barter of Movie Games, working and has been credited on at least 25 games, shown here. Things such as Ninja Kamui, Assault Suits Vulcan Declassified, Gears of War Judgment, Strike Suit Zero, Top Gun Hardlock, All Zombies Must Die, South Park Let's Go Play Tower Defense, Burn Zombie Burn, The Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian, NASCAR 2008, Need for Speed Carbon Own the City, several copies of FIFA, Burnout Legends, Black and White 2, Collector's Edition, and Black and White, and Tiger Woods PGA Tour. Developers like this are telling us that actually they're on our side and they want to be able to be heard and spoken for, especially since they're coming from studios such as Disney Interactive, where we know motherfuckers didn't really have choices, as was pretty much the communicated case that came from people like Troy Levitt. Those that would remember him being the person who was the lead of Avalanche Games before he left because he was being harassed by the general left-wing audience because of his daring to make a wizard game. Somehow, in the middle of the conversation, you have individuals like this that exist in the go-between, that when content creators like myself communicate our talking points to them, and we lay out the argument and the conversation the entire way down, at some point, when we get to here, suddenly they don't understand what the fuck we're saying. This phenomenon keeps happening in perpetuity. It's like a ping pong table. We explain very simple concepts. This isn't even a case of, oh, Carl's using too many big words. This is the reality of the actual existence. We have been pushed because of the hurry state of the development system from a point where the customer had the ability to talk to people to the position where the customer can talk to no one. Choices get made by the bean counters anyways. The publishers are whipping the developers and punishing them for speaking out of line, sometimes even simply closing them and then absorbing their assets and throwing it at another project should they not do what they're being told to do. Those developers, should they choose to speak up before this happens or after this happens, telling us what the inside of the industry looks like, and the industry rabble-roused by saber-rattlers on the inside that will whisper and report back, giving the players, and thus the consumers, the ability to communicate what they want, then hitting a brick wall because the publishers don't fucking listen and talk to the customers, and this cycle repeating itself multiple times over, only since Stop Killing Games. In the interim of Stop Killing Games, and these conversations in their propriety and in their entirety, this has only changed because of the creation of jerkwaves and writing controversial topic points by using people as the bridge to be the springboard to start the conversation. Because the sad thing is that Barter had something to say when I said, no, we know that this is not the case because of pirate software. And his reaction was, well, is he though? I mean, really. In any case, I don't know, bro. I don't support pirate software. No one I know in development supports them either. So, you understand that this is a problem because of Jason Forhall. But not a single one of you seem to think that you don't even take the time to consider what the customer is talking about? How is it that you can fully understand why Stop Killing Games matters and know exactly why people care on this issue? You don't even need to know about the drama involving him because it's unnecessary. At this point, he is a springboard for Stop Killing Games. How the fuck can you say, nah, you don't understand, and then when I press you on the topic, you don't even have the ability to hear what I'm saying because somehow you're lost.
He doesn't care. All he cares about is you attacking him. Also, hi, guys. And that was shown definitively when I went after him this morning and said, have you been at every development studio? Have you worked with every developer and publishing company? No, there's no fucking way in 20 years that you could work with every single developer in every single development company. There's no way. And let me, I don't know if you saw it, but let me read to you exactly what he said in response to it. Because he quote tweeted me and got very pissy. See if I can find it. Because he didn't engage with my argument at all.
Okay. I'll go looking for it on the side unless you want to show me.
I'm gonna find it. Because I responded to him. Okay. I'll give you the link to it. But he doesn't respond to anything that I fucking said to him. Because what I said was, have you worked at every developing company with every individual developer? No? Then you can't 100% say Carl's wrong. You're talking out of your ass. We can pull up video after video of even one developer trying to ensure that paying consumers lose access to their games as soon as a developer publisher decide that they are done with that game. In Final Fantasy XIV alone, that would leave all serious players out 2K minimum. Your willingness to concede with even that on the table makes me question your intentions and if you aren't just a corporate plant. Add in another developer who doesn't give a fuck about players, though he's even smaller, is Sungrand Studios. Literally has been grifting and lying to the gaming community to get clout and get work with Nintendo. And his response was fun. Firstly, how am I even a corporate plant? Secondly, I have worked with most publishers and developers over the last 2 decades and know even more people in various places still. I'm coming from a place of knowledge and experience and I'm trying to help. Where did you address what I said? All you addressed was, I've worked for 20 years in the developing field for games, and you've called me a corporate plant.
This makes my opinion of his behavior last night even worse. So, the way that I explained this when I was talking to Cassie about this, because I walked into Cassie and basically asked her, girl, do you see what the fuck is happening right now? Am I taking crazy pills? Certainly I must be getting trolled here by a developer who is so big-brained that he doesn't understand what the fuck's happening. So the way that I see this is, there is a square. We're going not back to the circles chat, but to the squares. So, there is a square. There are 4 sides to this square. And in perpetuity of the lines of this square, this box represents the conversation of the entire industry. On one side, you have the customer. On another side, you have the players. Players can be consumers as much as consumers can be players, but they are their own separate groups with their own separate interests. So you have the players, and you have the consumers. And on the other end, you have the developers, and then you have the publishing companies. On this 4-sided square, the 2 sides that are closest to each other have the ability to communicate, and the sides that are furthest from each other on the cardinal axis have the ability to communicate only when one of the other sides is able to connect to them. So, a publishing company can only be able to talk to a consumer if they directly speak to the customer. Instead, what they do is they decide to play a game of ping pong, where they are bouncing their perspective off of somebody else in order to get to them. So, the publishing company usually goes to the developer and then goes to the consumer. Because if anything were to happen, what would happen if it was to go backwards is that any conversation would go from the customer to the developer, then back to the publishing company. And so on and so forth. And what this creates is it creates a game of disabused telephone. So the way that I framed this to her when I explained it, and I explained how I was frustrated with this man communicating to me, was imagine you go into any restaurant and you order a burger from the kitchen. You order burgers and fries with a drink on the side. You didn't get a burger, you instead got a salad. You didn't get fries, you somehow instead got a cold slab of meat, and you didn't get a drink, you somehow got a unwashed cup with ball hair in it. And you say, I didn't order this, why did you serve me this food? And the developer, who is supposed to be the person who is the salesperson, is then looking at you, turns around, looks at what equates to their relief manager and the line cook, which is the PC company, telling them that they need to do this and saying, we're sorry, we're trying to help. I don't understand what the problem is. Can you explain to me what the problem is? And people in the middle who are watching this happen, the players, are witnessing this conversation between them and the other side, and they are cloistered off into a corner where effectively their opinions aren't heard whatsoever because the PC company does not listen to the player because the player isn't necessarily a customer. They might play the game, but they might not pay for anything. And so, the publisher ignores the player base and then says to the customer, we hear what you're saying. So what we're going to do is something that you didn't fucking ask for. And this has been the stage for 10, 15, 20 years. It has gotten more egregious over the years because we no longer live in the time period where Blizzard is the number one company in perpetuity. Instead, we live in a time period where Blizzard is now another agent factor of one of those publishers, which is Microsoft. Before, they were acquired by Activision and became Activision Blizzard. Then, they acquired or somehow did a partnership with King, the mobile game company, and became Activision Blizzard King, which is when they decided to not have phones and make Diablo Immortal, which is the premier basis of not understanding the player base and what they're asking for. And then, eventually, as shit spiraled out of control, a combination of you will own nothing and you will be happy, a combination of the Blitzchung event, a combination of what I call the Diablo semen retention of China, and their perpetuity to effectively become an engine to sell Activision products, as they basically are one of the premier ways to play Warzone and Black Ops 6, eventually were absorbed by Microsoft, and now suffer the same fate as all the other studio companies that are underneath the barbell of Microsoft, which if I can find a copy of that picture, probably cannot.
But going back
point.
to what he's saying and how he's acting.
Yes.
So, again, he flippantly just discarded anything I said. Says, how am I wrong? If you go do a basic Google search, you can see my experience for yourself. And why would I lie about this and support the EU petition at the same time? Are you an idiot? You've completely discarded what I said. And what I said to him in response was, it doesn't seem like it whatsoever because you immediately say, I know better, when we can point out how you are wrong on, at minimum, 2 occasions. To me, a gamer looking at the entire conversation, I doubt your intentions. I'm just being more blunt than Carl. That's what he responded to. Here's my response that makes all of this and his actions completely easier for everybody to digest.
Their elimination
I said,
story.
You have not once addressed any of the other arguments I have made, so I think you're being a flippant asshole and are beyond arrogant. I'm a military veteran for the Army. I cannot say that I know every branch of the military is like, or what every branch of the military is like or does. I cannot even say I know what every MOS, for you civilians, this is what jobs are called, does. This is what you are doing exactly. You agree with our point, allegedly, and yet you are getting upset with us because you still say that you 100% know that it isn't happening at all. If you cared like you claimed, you wouldn't be such an arrogant prick to anyone who sees your bullshit and calls you out for it. You only care that you're being called out.
Yes.
Am I wrong? I'm not. That is blatantly what he's doing.
Yes, sir.
Just because you have experience does not mean you're correct. Just because you are in the gaming sphere does not make you correct. It actually can make you more biased because you want to protect your other developers and you want to protect your own ass because you're a developer.
Mm-hmm.
What he should have done was, as soon as you put out directly Pirate Software and this initiative that he says that he agrees with and he supports, and said, okay, you're right, it isn't 100%, there are some bad apples, I agree, but overall, they do not support this shit. All he had to do was say that. That's all he had to do, and none of us would be coming at him.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have come at him at all, but he can't do that. He doesn't have the ability to do that because he is arrogant and he doesn't care.
Okay, I found the image I was looking for. I had to go diving for it inside my history. So, under Microsoft, which is Xbox, there is now Activision, Blizzard, King, Treyarch, Raven, High Moon, Enox, Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward, Demonware, Toys for Bob, 343, World's Edge, Compulsion, Creative, Xbox Game Studio Publishing, In Exile, Undead, Playground Games, Obsidian, Ninja Theory, Mojang, Bethesda, ZeniMax, id, Arcane, Machine Games, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Bog, Roundhouse, and a couple of other ones whose names I can't properly read. You can see with the image that's currently on the screen inside of the file from Obsidian. And this is basically, and your interaction with him is basically the reality of the problem. We are asking him, the sales, well, he is positioning himself. He specifically is that one eager person who's a salesperson at your favorite fucking, at your favorite eatery, who's positioning himself between us and the line cooks that are putting out the content on the grill. And he's presenting himself as though he is also the one who cooked the food. He's the salesperson, but he's also the line cook. When in actuality, the line cook is the publishing company who outright is telling us we don't know what we want. In fact, the response to the Stop Killing Games initiative that was put out as it crossed the overdrive point of 1 million signatures, which is when Pirate Software chose to be petty as shit and say his "I hope you get everything you want and nothing you deserve" type answer, and then in perpetuity saying that every person who's signing that signature is basically unto themselves a stalker and a doxer, because that's the opinion he said from his live stream performance. The equivocation of it, basically. If you ever have an opinion about the movement, well, if you're criticizing him, he'll accept it. If you're just insulting him, he'll actively remove your post, even if the thing that you're saying to him isn't insulting him directly or his character, but is instead insulting the position that he's approaching from, because he refuses to be direct with any single person he's talking to. He's effectively taking what I'm going to call the Pirate Software position. You're wrong. I'm not going to tell you why you're wrong. I won't even listen to you and be able to give you a extrapolation of your argument, and I won't map your argument to understand you from your position, what you're discussing. I'll just flat out tell you, you're uninformed, you should be listening to us. Okay, so if I have it wrong, you tell me, because I asked him several times, and I even reworded it multiple times until I got to the point where I said, I'm done with this, I'm going to go do something else. Tell me what your position is. Who do you blame? Do you blame the customers? Do you blame the consumers? Do you blame the players? Do you blame the publishing company? Are there developers that are responsible for the inability to communicate across the pond? And mind you, Xbox is just one example of the content house system that is responsible for creating this never-ending argument between the customers, the players, and the people who simply want to see actual change. This kind of attitude is the reason why we can't discuss shit. Period. Nobody understands anyone, because somehow everybody in their own closed circle, if they've worked all these years in the industry, they hear all these conversations and topics, but they're so fucking lost in the sauce that they unironically are having a Carl moment. They come to the table, they have a lot of bravado, they say, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Do you understand anything that we're saying? And they're saying, bro, what is wrong? You don't understand what the fuck we're talking about? Bro, come on. And it's no different than Pirate Software. The fucking structure of the conversation, granted, is being led by content creators. Perhaps this is the reason why this is difficult for him to follow. Because what I had to explain to him, what I essentially gave up to the ecumenical god of politics for the conversation, is that this is the crux upon which he probably doesn't understand. Maybe he doesn't get it, because even though other people got this, because I can go through where I tagged them. I know when I tagged Arthur, who we've already had a conversation with before, concerning his own games. Arthur read this. Arthur agrees with this. He understands what I'm saying. Other content creators, like the Other Frost, or Richard Lewis of the esports team of Last Free Nation, which basically means him, Dustin Thorin Shields, Monte Crisco, Christian Riviera, I Will Dominate, and other figures in the field that actually have on-hand esports experience from the gaming world. They understand what I'm saying. Those of you who are here in my audience at least understand what I'm saying. People who are in the middle who are uninformed, which is why there's 4 axes, not 3. The people who understand from the position of being just normal consumers and actual players, which in this case, for this broadcast, those of you who have been here, you're customers. You actively consume the content. So basically, a customer can also be consumer. And to the players, those are the people in the middle that are watching. Those are the people who usually get ignored because they haven't been won over by somebody's side. They're the undecided third party who is a part of the silent majority. They don't know who to listen to and who to trust because, unfortunately, in the middle of that discussion, this is where this gets left on the ground and thus given up to the god of ecumenical politics. That being, when I summarized my opinion for him, many don't have a perspective to begin with because their favorite streamer is just clip farming and doesn't actually have a position or an argument or even questions for the developers that are under the effective gag order. I'm just laying out my perspective as a baseline because those consumers are being told information by people who are effectively clip farming just to get their name into the goddamn pool so that their opinion and take goes viral, and they've already moved on to the next thing to feed off of for content generation as they're writing a jerk wave. That's half the reason we're here. None of this, none of the conversations would happen if Pirate Software didn't get pressed in private by people like Charlie, by people like Justin Strife Hayes. None of them, Justin or Jason? Josh Strife Hayes. I'm wrong. Jesus Christ. None of this eventual push would change or would have happened without Charlie and without Josh pushing him in private. Because his opinion since then has been, I agree with Josh Strife Hayes. He has a really great perspective. Because Josh's position is that it's possible to be an opponent but not treat them like a perpetual enemy. But unfortunately, for us, the players and the consumers, maybe more the consumers, we have to view this as an axiomatic, all or nothing, all for us or all against us perspective, which is why it's drawn on the axes. So it ends up looking something like this. Hello, Boster. It ends up looking something like this, where what happens in the middle ground is that we draw a giant fucking line between us and them on the sphere of influence. Probably do this thicker. Let me use thicker line. It draws between us and them because that's what it feels like. It feels like there is a wall. There is a barrier of communication, whether it be the human factor or it be the consumption factor of money. There is something stopping developers from hearing the very plain language we're using when we talk to them. And it makes us feel like they are directly against us, even though they say they're on our side. So unless they understand and can habla my fucking English, I have to treat them like an enemy. Because they're acting like an enemy.
Yeah, that's exactly why I said, the way you're acting, you come off as a corporate shill, and I question your intentions, even though you're saying, I am with the gamers. You're clearly not, because we are talking to you, and you are not engaging with anything that we're saying. All you're doing is calling us stupid, because we clearly are talking about what's happening in front of our eyes, and you want to say, oh, look over there.
Yeah, I'm not one for going back and forth and, playing on someone's intelligence, but I really feel like if he doesn't, we will cut these motherfuckers off if they literally do not see it how we see it. We can all go back to playing single-player games. It is so easy to do that now. I don't have to interact with the majority of the industry to get 95% of the content that I want, which is originally the Twitch standard. Free internet, free video game, free live service, free streaming, free content, free Wi-Fi entertainment, free sex, free everything. I don't have to go through a single person to get what I want. And unfortunately, the industry can't survive like that. It needs the consumer. It needs the people who pay the money. And if you're telling me you can't understand, while being the same people who want to throw your hand out and say, buy our new game, buy everything at an $80, $90 price point, $80 for digital, $90 for premium, the only answer you're getting is fuck you. You have to either understand what we're saying and we're not doing business. Which is crazy. It's crazy.
You know what's even crazier is the people that are sucking their dick.
Yes.
Because I had somebody that responded and he's like, bro, he worked on Gears of War and Mobile Suit Zero. Bro, what does that have to do with anything? I'm not questioning his credentials. Sure, he could have... Cool, he's worked in the industry for 20 years. That doesn't mean that he's worked with every publisher and every developer in every developer studio. That doesn't change my point. Because I could literally do his Google thing. I could go and pull up his entire LinkedIn and his entire work profile and go, here's a list of the shit you're done. Here's a list of all developers that are in that exist right now. I don't see these ones. I see this one, this one, this one, this one. I don't see these other ones. So you haven't worked with every developer.
Even if they would have worked with every developer, there's no way that they are entering into a field where the conversation is basically dominated by attention economy, and they are expecting us to be able to have a healthy conversation where they do not actually have the ability to look at the same things that we're looking at. Because then effectively they're working with blinders on. And then that makes the conversation even more contentious. Because if you're actively ignoring things by saying, nah, I don't live in drama, bro, this isn't the conversation where Adam Conover pretends to not understand Tim Pool and his talking point, while then also confirming that he is fully on the left-wing side of the very good people hoax that was perpetrated by the left wing when attempting to take Trump out of his terms, and then Tim crashing out, respectfully, because he is explicitly playing a linguistic word game. I don't think if we live in the universe where he's doing it accidentally, because he just doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about, which I don't think is the case, because he knows about pirate software and Stop Killing Games. So if that's the case, then it's on purpose. If
he knows he's wrong.
If he is purposefully saying, I don't know what you're talking about, what's Blood yapping about from the industry position, it has to be because they think they know what the consumer wants, but when the consumer actually tells them a multi-point plan, not napkin math, not a brainstorm on the back of a napkin, but an actual laid out process and attack plan, an order of operation, they suddenly are completely confounded by the action plan and say, bro, I don't know if I can do anything about this call to action. This seems really hard. Because the plan of action, somehow, if they have, and I assume most developers have some form of alternative agenda, it somehow would directly affect their personal agenda and their personal method of making money and getting recognition inside of the industry, so they won't go for it. Because it would put them in a bad position with the publisher. And they would possibly even get them blacklisted from the industry because they're no longer willing to suck the corpo dick.
So in essence, he is proving that he's a corporal shill to a certain extent, because he is sucking the dick and he's not listening to anything that we're saying.
At the very least, he is seeing what we're saying, and then he's glancing over his shoulder back at the line cook. And the line cook's saying something to the equivalent, through stressed teeth of, "Motherfucker, you better not say shit, you better not say shit." And he's looking back and saying, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I don't understand what you're asking for. When all I wanted was a burger and fries and a drink, and what I got was some bullshit on my plate. Before, the argument would have been, how do you know it's shit? The shit hasn't even come out their ass yet. But we can all see them spreading their cheeks, squatting over the counter, and plopping a fat, greasy shit on the plate. And then they're turning back around, pulling up their pants and saying, is this what you asked for? I'm sorry, I can't help you with this. Is this what you asked for? Is this what you asked for? And 10 plates of shit later, we're like, fuck this, I'm going across the street. I'm going to the Gotcha Games Titty for Less store. They'll give me what I asked for. And then they say, how the hell did we in the gaming industry lose all of our capital? At some point, you either have to stop pretending that you don't see what's happening and stop assuming that you're in a room full of invisible wall masters and agree that the people who you're talking to are living, breathing people that are the humans that you're obviously getting in the human element of the entire perspective. And you have to then address the middle rather than speaking at the sides of the extremes. Hence, the four-sided square. I don't have a name for this square. I'll invent one on this broadcast. I don't have one right now. But until we solve this problem of the players, the consumers, the developers, and the publishing companies actively, seemingly creating a stalemate and a holding pattern so that they can continue raping the customer over the table and watch the players see them do this and then wonder why we keep pulling away from this service model and why we keep proposing terms to create this space for us to continue a renegotiated broaching of the conversation and them actively pull away from those negotiations, This will continue until morale improves. We will destroy the industry if we have to, because we should have, years ago. There needed to have been a games crash. Because when you aren't willing to negotiate the terms with us on the sphere of what we're asking for, the direct response is supposed to be boycott. Some people are not willing to boycott every type of video game. And I'm not saying you should boycott every single video game in perpetuity. But what I am saying is that if they keep giving you licenses, going back to my original statement on my breakdown, click, 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 click. Going back to my original position, when I explained to him, back to the obvious non-starter of you will own nothing, and you'll pay for the privilege to be punished at a later date, and destroy all copies when we ban you unjustly. There's also the problem of contract ownership, end-of-user license agreements, terms of service, and customer expectation of receiving something down the line. The premium and freemium models gave way to EULAs for companies that tell us that we don't own a game, we instead own a license to a game. One that we likely own on a digital platform, either proprietary or non-proprietary, which is being serviced as a live service because of the upswing in the trend of trying to capitalize on a movement of player retention balanced out on spreadsheets from the perspective of the bean counters. But never the developers left on the chopping block and the cutting room floor that are getting hurried to put out something because of the customers that are still waiting. Effectively, we've watched the rise of Fortnite trump League of Legends. That is a fact. There's no arguing of that fact. Because League of Legends used to sponsor itself as the #1 played game in the world. And at some point, it probably was. But we have moved away from video games that have a MOBA system. Why? Because we're tired of being hostage by other players. Something that even Riot Games has now decided that they understand fully. No, it is not fair for the experience of 10 people to be cited by one person who decided to act like a fucking idiot. Removing the purity argument of, bro, I don't care, I'm just trying to play the game, I'm trying to get a free win. 9 people's experience should not be affected by a single person. So then we move to the Battle Royale system, which is connected to the live service strategy. Since you obviously want to sell skins, you want to sell developer packs, you want to sell streamer bundles that features your favorite content creator who plays the video game relentlessly to the point that they get recognized for having spent thousands of hours, if not years, playing video games, maybe even playing games before that, before they finally got recognized in that space. You've got 100 people playing in a lobby system. For some people, it's 100. For some games, such as Apex Legends, being forged by Respawn Games, it's more like 50 squads. 3 people to a squad. And then you start working your way towards the people who will then become the winners in said Royale. This doesn't work because hackers ruins the integrity of the game. And because Respawn are willing to allow those hackers to dominate that scene, this then leads to people then choosing to play lobby-based system. Requires less overhead, minimum of 4 people, maybe it has an online live service access. Now you're reaching something more towards the direction of what we already had in the past, but now, instead of I can invite people to my online session and play Diablo 2 with them, or Diablo 3 with them, or Diablo 4 with them, or Path of Exile 1 or 2 with them, or Helldivers 2 with them, I am now expecting them to sign a EULA that then puts them under the rules of how they need to behave as a basis of code of conduct. Don't hack our game, don't treat people poorly, play the video game legally, and we're good. Now, that's not tenable, because at some point, the money that I pay into your game will disappear. Because I'm not paying for a game, and I'm not even paying for a license in that way. On the live service, I'm paying for the experience. I'm there when the game exists, and when the game dies, that's it. That's always been the case. But unfortunately, the litigation of this issue means that until you're able to understand that, a live service game system is no different than making a purchase at Burger King. If I order you food, I expect the food. Whether or not you believe you're selling me the experience of the food as a bean counter, you need to understand that the human experience between me and that sales representative is us, the consumer, and the player, talking to the developer. Maybe what they need to do is they need to allow for the developer to have more room to speak, so that whenever they look over the shoulder, they're instead not worrying about whether or not they have the right to say it, but rather they have the ability, when a customer asks for something unreasonable, to rationally crash out on that person and explain why they can't do that. In pure terms. No, I can't just give you my source code because we can't just give you the source code. But what we can do is provide you the tools and access to the source code once the game is done, and then you can make your modifications. That's it. That's all we fucking want. And for some reason, we can't get past this. Anyways, give me 1 second. I need to go to the bathroom. And when I come back, we'll take on more callers. I needed to get that out there because that shit was frustrating the shit out of me. Hello and welcome. Hi, Balster. Entertain the people while I'm gone, horror.
I'll entertain while he's gone. Sing it. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, man. I've been dead. I've been dead inside. I've been so dead inside lately. I've been having to react for hours upon hours upon hours to fucking Reforge Gaming, if anybody knows who that is. So, a massive Sony pony. And Corpo Shill. And my torture streams have gotten so long, I have to do another one with still another, like, 4.5 hours to go. I've done 2 of them. I've done, like... I've been on live reacting to this stuff for probably 10 hours, at least. And I still got another 4.5 to go. Because people keep paying to extend the fucking hours. And I'm $325 away from having to read a Harmon Smith book on stream. God damn it. Fuck, $125 away from having to read the pedo book on stream. Oh my god. For Machine for Pigs, it's okay. I don't think it's as good as the Dark Descent, but it's okay. I'm probably going to be finishing it on Tuesday, honestly, because, you know, it's a short game. It's very quick to get through. Yeah. But yeah. I'm not looking forward to that. Oh, I already have to do another one on Harmon Smith, the guy that I have to read the book for. Yeah, am I happy about it? Fuck no. But I guess I'm at least making money off of my torture. I find it the best of the Amnesia collection. On the side note, you think... Oh, the Bunker. I have it. I have all of them. I'm going to be playing all of them. Am I playing the Bunker next? Let me look. I'm playing Rebirth next, and then I have to play the Bunker after, because that's the latest one. So, yeah, I'll get to it eventually. Gotta earn that bread up. I know. If I'm gonna be tortured, at least I'm gonna make money off of it. If people are gonna fuck with me, I at least want to get paid for it, you know? I mean, it's only fair. Only fair. It is what it is. And I've been entertaining myself during this time editing for the new video series stuff that I'm going to be putting up, which that's going to be fun. I'm reacting to horror game trailers. So it should be like a daily thing, Monday through Friday, which will be fun. Oh man. But you gotta do it. You gotta get it done, you know. Shit just has to get done. It's not back yet. It makes me sad. Carl's not back yet. I'm so sad. Gotta entertain the chat somehow. Only way to hustle through online cringe. It's fine as long as I get paid, I say, right? Get busy or wither away, I guess. Yep. You gotta do something. And I mean, it's not like it takes very long. I've already done 2 while I've been talking to Carl. It's like really easy to do. It's just a pain to have to go through all the full bullshit of recording a bunch of them and all that fun shit. They're really quick videos, though. It's not like it's hard. And he's back.
I'm back.
He is sitting down.
Okay.
Willkommen.
Who was first?
Welcome back.
Thank you. Alex would be first, because Saffron was on the call. Welcome, Alex.
Sup, nerd?
Waiting for you to get into the video game, loser.
Well, unfortunately, you have to be searching, my man. Because I can't freaking just join off you, apparently. There we go.
So,
I've been waiting so patiently.
So, do you have something that you wanted to add on to the conversation, or did you just want to start with your own opinion, Alex?
In recent years, as I've, come up and grown into this industry of purchasing video games, I can look back at between now and then and just it sucks how shit has degraded to the point where we came in from $60 games to $80 games to fucking developers deciding, yeah, we're just the shitty people, right? We're the toxic gamers. Like, but we've been buying your shit for shit as long as the hobby's been around, right? We're the ones that provide the feedback and then the purchasing power of your shit, and yet you want to vilify us because we have opinions of what the shit you guys are doing. Of course, there's always going to be bad people. There's always going to be someone that's being a little shitter, but like, we're just as much as passionate about this hobby as you are. Of course, you guys make the games. We're not going to fault you for that. It takes a lot to make a game, but it also doesn't take much effort to listen to who wants to buy said game and listen to their feedback. I hate that they get so prissy about it. Who are these people? Why are they so sensitive to just people saying words? Maybe understand the passion behind some of these words that people come out that are, obviously they're not trolling or being malicious about them. Because just the more, because I went back to look at my old 360 console and just like, man, this used to have been the days. And then I look at today's climate and I'm like, what the why did we lose the plot? Was it just because of the money? Because the money was raked in? Was it COVID? Was it just a bunch of different other factors? Did the wrong people get in and we didn't really notice? I want to go back to those days where games were passionate and we didn't have to worry about nonsense as it is nowadays.
I agree. I personally don't have my own answer because I no longer exist inside the axiomatic degree of it must be this, because that just obviously does not help us as an industry be able to understand each other, or as consumers to understand each other. I cannot walk into a chicken store and expect them to make burgers, and I cannot walk into a burger place expecting them to make shawarma. That just doesn't that does not obla. It doesn't work, it's not fair. There is, however, a place where I can be able to say, assuming that we think that they like making money, assuming you like money, assuming that my money is green enough for you.
I love money.
If I have green and you have product, somewhere in the middle we can make a fucking deal and make something happen. Somehow, somewhere around about, I want to say I was 18, so somewhere in the late 10s, moving into 2020, somewhere in the industry, they looked at something like Gamergate, and they said, we will never allow for a person to have a conversation like this ever again. We will silence the gamer, and we will actively make fun of them, and we will use the gaming journalists to paint the field the way we want the field to be seen. And this has obviously blown up in their faces.
Very heavily.
Multiple companies have gone to the wayside and actively have nothing left of themselves. They are either lost, consumed, or they have been turned into a bot front for them to publish articles about the gaming industry, but they're owned by companies like Valnet. And those well-known figures, well-known being the worst word to describe these people because they're not popular in the sense of their content. They are just people who exist to put their poison out inside the field. They have created a non-stop replication of problems where the scope of the issue is only being breached when it's their problem. For an Sarkeesian, everything in the industry is toxic, everything is problematic, everything is an issue, and you need to point it all out. But the second you touch Charmed, dad damn it, how dare you motherfuckers! That's my thing! Jason Schreier. There's no problems in the industry. Gamers are whiny, pissy babies. They don't understand a single thing they're talking about. I'll sit on stories. I'll allow active abuses happening inside of Blizzard to keep happening until I can write a book about it. But the second that I gotta talk about fucking Dragon Age the Veilguard, I don't want to give these chuds a win. But I have to say how ass it is. Quote, I don't really care about this, but I love seeing chuds cry. All of a sudden, now I'm the one crying. Funny how that happened.
Man, it's almost as if you make a shitty game, no one wants to fucking buy it.
Yep.
Somewhere in this conversation, the gaming journalists, I would say, are the number one culprit. Then the publishing companies are the number two culprit. Then Havoc developers are the number three culprit. And then, like, somewhere in the atmosphere, specific arguments from certain kinds of content creators are responsible for how information is given to the people in the middle who are uninformed. That is probably the closest to the actual reality of how the conversation is being developed. Because there's no way that it's just the consumers being lost and then everybody else not knowing where to come from next. I don't think that's the case. I think it's much more likely that if we wanted to blame someone, it would be us blaming the majority of the industry. Because obviously, we're just consumers. We don't have that kind of power. That doesn't mean that we have no power, but we don't have the kind of power to solve a problem directly. No matter how much I bitch, whine, moan, or cry at Mojang Soft, I can't make them put out the new Steam edition of Twitch content for me to get future access to the newest copy of Drift City. I have to wait till they put it out. I have to wait till they publish it. The way that the industry wants to speak, from how they wish to communicate, they would prefer assuming that customers are just stupid. We don't have a single thing to say. We're just dumb, empty brains. And they have to be the ones to tell us why we're wrong. Even though they can't explain to us why our position is wrong. It's like a child asking a parent, why can't I go and do this thing? And the parent, instead of telling them simple answers of, oh, the reason why you can't do that is because we have to go to your fucking brother's fucking dance recital on Friday. Or something about similar to that. Instead, it's the black parent equivalent of, cause I'm the mama, cause I'm your daddy, cause I said so. And you can only give us this answer so many times until we're saying, nah, I'm not gonna listen to you, I'm gonna go do my own thing.
Did it reconnect? Oh, there we go.
Ceremonial F's in the chat, boys. And before everything blows up in my face and I die instantly.
Nope.
That wouldn't happen if we were on a land connection! Anyways. We're kind of tired of the because we're the developer and we said so answer, because we don't implicitly trust developers. Even with beloved developers such as Chris Wilson of Grinding Gear Games, who is now running his own new studio, and he has left in his tutelage his friends that are carrying on his will and spirit, we still make them earn our trust. At no point in time do we just implicitly give them our faith. They earned our faith, and thus earned our money by proxy.
Yep.
There is not a fair deal in the middle where you can keep giving us the answer because we're the developer, because we say this is how it goes, and you expect us to take you for your word without questioning whether or not you're a crazy person.
What can I get you?
So somewhere in the mix, if we're going to put blame on somebody, if I, for one, am going to blame a developer, I'm going to blame the developers that are dedicated to not listening to the arguments that we're attempting to make. Because either I have something the wrong way around, and then it is my job to be informed and then to listen when I am misinformed, and understand what's happening. Just as much it is their job that when we say, hey, how do you guys like our limited time offering? Oh, this is dog shit. Oh, we hate this. This is ass. This is dog shit. Why did you ever think that this was acceptable? Are you crazy? Like, this shit is disgusting. It is their job to hear us and understand that we're not just saying it because we feel like that's a really funny thing to say in the moment. We're saying that because I legitimately don't know what to tell you. Like, what's going on here? Somewhere roundabout in the field, that has to be an acceptable response.
Shotguns, please. I can't shoot everything myself.
If that's not what's happening, then we are truly, utterly fucked as far as the industry goes. At least in my opinion. Perhaps my opinion is wrong, but that is at least the way that I see it. Because the first person that I would definitely blame the content creator. Because the content creator is the one who's currently bouncing the conversation. I can say, at least in my circle of influence, because I talked to other people about it as well when that happened last night, that this is about true. It is basically the expectation of every person that we don't hear about news from the industry, we hear news from content creators. If that content creator has an interesting take, that take gets repeated. And the more that take gets repeated, the more other people come to learn about that position, because they learned about that position from those content creators. So rather than reading it on Reddit, you hear it on a video, and then you come to the position because you agree with that standard that's being provided by the people that are talking about the issue in general. Unfortunately, this seems to not be the way many people seem to consume content, because however they come across that material is pretty much up to the chance when they found it. Some people are coming across content because of shitposting. Some people are coming across content because of memes. Some people are coming across content because of memes that were made explicitly because of funny situations that keep repeating themselves. However, they are coming across content. They're coming across content in the exact same ways. And so it's the job of the majority of us to pretty much understand that if that's how we're approaching these conversations, we have to be willing to agree to disagree whenever we have some very small nitpicking details to concern ourselves with, and instead understand the entire case as a perspective. So instead of trying to dismiss basic generalized answers because they don't address someone's very specific, very annoying single argument as a whole, we instead understand that the majority of this is being made up of multiple arguments that are happening at the same time, and then where we need to specify, we attempt to specify better so that there is a full cogent argument that everybody can understand. Because it seems to be the case that whenever we do have an argument to be understood, this argument keeps getting developed in such a way where, because they don't understand the implicit directions or means or conversations that are being had all over the sphere, that means that instantly those developers and those conversations being had with those developers are for nothing. I'm blind. Are being had for nothing. Because the consumers don't even know what it is they're asking for, even though we wrote down exactly what we asked for. The conversation keeps cycling itself this way. And I don't know if it's because the industry doesn't understand, or if we don't understand, but someone's not getting it. And come hell or high water, we're either going to get this as a group, or we're just going to have to accept that they're never going to understand, and we're just going to have to agree to disagree. What's your take on that?
I agree, because at this point in time, there needs to be more than just this as consequences.
What can I get you?
Because it hasn't really been any true consequence for them, besides, I don't know, just a loss in revenue and then like some studio closures. But at the same time, like, we have the indie scene kind of just making up for it in certain ways.
The indie scene being able to make up for the lost money and the lost time from the AA position and the indie position at the sacrifice of the AA, AAA, and 4A doesn't really. It doesn't grease the palms. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no, oh it doesn't. I know for a fact it doesn't. They still want our money. It's just that, you know, has it really been effective for them to keep this up for how long, however long they want to do it for? Because like, this can only go so far, you know?
Yes. Like, we've already been strained to our limits. COVID did a number on everybody in every single way possible, but it did a successfully large amount of damage to us in a way where we don't have enough money going around. We don't have enough money to keep having this conversation multiple times. So, something's got to change. Something has to. Either the player has to change, the customer has to change, the developer has to change, or the consumer has to change. But the consumer can't be the ones that are expected to change, because we are the ones that are asking for the help in the first place.
Exactly.
That's nice. So, going backwards, so I can catch myself up to the chat room. To me, the ground zero of the downfall of gaming would have to be Mass Effect 3. It was truly a canary in the coal mine, being a microcosm of all growing pains we have nowadays in gaming. I would disagree with you, Boster. I wouldn't put it on Mass Effect 3. I'd put it on Assassin's Creed. The exact...
I don't even put it on that just alone. It's multiple games on this.
Well, yes, but if you want to see the exact point, Assassin's Creed is the point where you can recognize this. The moment that Assassin's Creed went from being a video game franchise to being a industry figure for Ubisoft to place all of its goodwill on the next franchise title, the moment where Origins, Valhalla, Odyssey, I guess Assassin's Creed Shadows if you really want to get down to brass tacks, but also Watch Dogs. The moment that it went from being the expectation of this is a single player game and we are attempting to tell a different variation of a story to we're going to put a fucking battle pass inside of a single player game, that is when the industry went down.
Yeah, no, that was really dumb.
Putting that inside of the industry was a non-starter.
We've got a new toy for you. A mortar turret. This heavy emplacement drops large explosives on groups of monovisions.
It made no sense to me at the time either, because like, you're playing a single player game. Why would you ever want to play a battle pass something? Even a battle pass alone still hurts, because like, that could have been just content you just put in the game for people to play and earn normally.
Yes.
You can now customize your trench chassis.
But like, I hate it when they started doing battle passes in the FOMO. I got really stuck into that with Apex Legends when it was out. I spent way too much money on that.
Okay.
Some of them I didn't even finish the battle pass for. That's the main issue. I missed out on some stuff, and it hurts. I can't go back and play that and get those stuff again. I hate FOMO. I hate limited time things. Like, if I just don't have the money, why make it FOMO?
Mm-hmm. Other than because of money, I could not tell you for the life of me.
Like, if you want money, right, make it so that stuff can still available for people to purchase. Don't just rotate it out in a rotating shop, because now people don't want to spend money all the time. Or, oh, be part of this for this limited time, and the person that decided not to just to sit and wait let the game, progress and update, because sometimes some updates break shit, or there's a asinine change that they don't want to get involved in, so they just wait for the next thing. But then there's some special thing that offer in the shop that looks really good. You want it, but you don't want to fucking buy the game and that cosmetic at the same time, because you'd be having to still play the game afterwards.
And then at that point, you're giving something up that you can't be able to get back. And you feel like if you're not willing to make that sacrifice, that you're being punished for the fact that you were not in the right place at the right time in your life.
Yep. Sorry, I'm not making buco bucks to spend on a game.
I mean, a lot of... Going off of what some of the members in the chat just said, you could probably blame COD as well. Although, going back to this graph here, it wouldn't just be COD you'd have to blame. You'd have to blame the publisher of COD. Because, obviously,
Activision.
If you wanted to say, well, I don't blame this franchise, I blame this franchise. Brother man, all of those franchises are underneath the same fucking roof. You're looking at body parts now. You're not even looking at the head. You're looking at the amalgamated body part of a giant fucking chimera. And that chimera's head is the very same people that are the ones that make the console.
You know, the funny part is, I don't think it really didn't. It did start with Call of Duty, but it was like after the Golden Age. I think it began either in Advanced Warfare or somewhere around there. A little bit after that. Because I remember from that, it was that it did start from that franchise, but it was like during the Xbox One era, around those areas of the games, or in that transitional period between the 360 and the Xbox One, and then like the PS3 to PS4. That's when the shit really got fucking out of hand. Then you start seeing the battle royales, and then you start seeing battle passes from Fortnite, and then everything else just spiraled out of control from there. And it's just a lot of money was spent, wasted, and gained for certain people.
For me, at the end of the day, it feels like a lot of the choices that are being made are made off of some level of knowledge that is being kept from us. It's hard to describe this the right way around, but basically there is a series of knowledge that we are not privy to that is being kept from us because of the way in which we are expected to consume said knowledge. And with that knowledge being given to us in this way, we're left with our dicks in our hands, with not a lot of means on how to address the dick in the hand problem. Which sounds weird when I say it, but what I'm basically saying is, we are being asked to trust, listen, and believe, but we're also being asked to ignore and be blind. And while we are putting ourselves in the position to understand if we are blind to the problem or if we want to discuss the problem, to ask ourselves what's going on in the middle is to put ourselves at the mercy of the unspoken person, which ironically people have mentioned multiple times in the chat room, but I did not put on the square. And that is the all-consuming shareholder.
Ugh.
The all-consuming shareholder is the person whose viewpoint and eye controls the discussion. That's too big. Good enough. Little eye. Because the shareholders are the people who are basically controlling the conversation and are directly tying the developer and the publishing companies away from us as a whole. We can't get things done because when they ignore the customer and the player, they are instead listening to the shareholder. The shareholder doesn't necessarily have to be axiomatically opposed to the position of the player. They could actually be aligned with us. The problem is that it's really hard for us to assert whether or not they fully get it. Because to know whether or not they're actually aligned with us requires us to put up a lot of questions. And we don't have a lot of answers for those questions.
Maybe we don't.
Because obviously, the only way you can get into your shareholders meeting is to own money. That means you need to have fucking licenses. We don't have those licenses. Probably, for most people's cases, by design. We don't have them because we can't get them. They're not here.
We're not allowed to have them because we're lowly customers. We don't, make choices for ourselves apparently.
And then, when the shareholder decides to press the issue, and they tell us that we have to go about doing things in this way. I placed the wrong turret here. Fuck.
It's fine. I can take care of the breakers. The problem is I didn't get the chance to put any emplacements of my own in. I swapped chassis. I'll take care of the breakers. You can take care of the other stuff.
When the shareholder gets involved, all conversations effectively stop because it's the equivalent of daddy being home. Or a woman being in control of the wallet. Whatever example best helps you understand what I'm talking about, chat, go with that example.
Let's set up some defenses. What can I get you?
Ultimately, for me, all it ends up meaning is that there's a group of people who are between me and the thing that I want, and no matter how I ask them to provide me the thing that I require, I'm never going to get it as long as they think that they don't have to go through me to provide it. And certainly, if you've ever been in that position I described earlier before the chat disconnected because my internet is dog shit, you too have gotten tired of the answer of you're not going to get what you want because we're the parents and you're the child and we're going to treat you as such. If you've ever been in that position yourself, you know that you hate that too. So there's something we can do about it. We just haven't decided what that is yet. Now, what do you think about that, Alex?
I mean, it does feel like that at this point in time. Like, as soon as someone with common sense is in the room, it seems like everyone wants to shut up. Kind of hit it on the head for me, really.
Personally, I don't know what to do about it.
I don't think there's really anything we can normally do with it besides just vote with what our money can spend it on.
Yeah, but voting with your wallet can only go so far as an argument.
I know, and that's the painful part. But it's not like we can go into the room. Hey, you're fired because you're doing your job wrong.
Yes, 100%. And in the case that I was providing to him last night when I was explaining this to him, when I explained to him the problem of Twitch, that is actually how things are going right now. Because the answer to a company when being called out for their behavior is that they're going to start litigating the problem through PR press. They don't have to talk to us. They can just simply say, nah, there's no problem. It's just normal turnover of issues, while they ban every single user in chat that's asking them very specific pointed questions, which tends to be the way that this conversation usually flows.
Yep. Oh, I can't deal with those guys.
Are you feeling this? You just made a powerful enemy. Friendly over here, you son of the devil!
Because the only way that we make the developers be able to listen to us is we have to talk to them on Twitter, probably. The same way that we have to talk to YouTube on Twitter whenever we have a problem on YouTube, instead of talking to them through the back end, until we're large enough that when we are the ones having the problem, they say, oh yes, Mr. Single Player Carl. Oh, you're not getting the experience that you want with the game that you're asking for? Oh, no problem, Mr. Single Player Carl. We'll solve that shit right now. Oh yes, we understand that you're having issues. We're gonna do something about it. No problem, sir. Instead of them recognizing that as how we wish to be spoken to, instead, what we get is no reaction. And then if we do get a reaction, then if we do get a reaction, the reaction is a bog standard boilerplate answer. Now, back when I was talking to Sean Goss, the one who was making Here Tale of a Haunting, when we were playing Ratchet and Clank, that's what I was talking about when I was telling him I want a human interaction. It does not feel like a human interaction whenever we have to go about talking to them the way that I was being spoken about in the distance by him and others, taking it on themselves to tell me that I don't know what my own talking points are. Who knew?
We might have to redo this mission later.
It's fine.
Oh no, it's not done yet. There's another few more waves. I just didn't have enough time to put out another, a proper set of stuff. I swapped chassis, didn't realize I had like 5 seconds left, so I just put on an artillery cannon.
Let's get an artillery cannon on the field.
So all I'll do now is upgrade what I can. Oh.
Are you feeling this?
Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
Very much feeling it.
But yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on the consumer to be able to solve the problem in an industry if the industry does not actually give them means in which to communicate their problems to them and effectively tell them that they're not allowed to have opinions. They're only allowed to pay for product. That is never going to be an argument that is ever going to work in any format of public consumption ever. If I play your game, I should have the ability to have some level of at least feedback so that you can decide on the direction that you take the game. Most people would probably disagree with that perspective, but I believe that that is the fairest way to actually decide on the issues in the interim and in the middle. If we can't be able to tell you how we're going to make something, I should at least have the ability to say if I agree with the way that you're using it. If I don't like the way you make my latte, I should at least have the ability to say, I don't like the way you make my latte. Can you possibly do it differently?
And not get attitude for it.
Well, I wouldn't say that much. Not getting attitude for it, it is in the position of, say, a front-facing customer. We are not in such an interaction with developers where they have to look us in the face and then hold their tongue. And we're not asking them to either. In fact, we would prefer them crash out when they have this interaction, because then they're being human. And then we don't have to wonder whether or not they understand what we're talking about. We know that they get it. The way things are right now, we don't know if they understand the issue. Because whenever we talk to them, they're so inhuman with their reaction that while they might be aware that the way that they choose to speak can be then the result of them becoming the new target of a jerkwave, they instead are just giving up the middle and are just not doing anything whatsoever.
What side are you on, man?
Which feels frustrating.
Or more blitzers.
So at least when it comes down to the middle, what we end up with is that we're at least getting the ability to have a perception where we can at least say with certainty that we are capable of hearing them. And we're even capable of listening to them. But that does not mean that we're just simply going to take their word for it anymore. Because since the trust is unearned, and the disrespect is constant, the only avenue that is left to us is to accept that if this is the new normal, even a user with 0 likes and with 0 followers on a platform like Twitter, because I refuse to call it X, can have the ability to remind people that you still have to remember the humans that are paying for your product. Because if you keep asking for us to pay money on something that you won't give us actual property field for, we're not doing it. It's not happening.
Let's get an artillery cannon on the field.
Alright, Big Willie's on the other side going.
And that's pretty much the long and short of it. It doesn't matter if it was MapleStory. It doesn't matter if it was Call of Duty. It doesn't matter if it was Assassin's Creed. It doesn't matter if it's a Hello Kitty Island adventure. This is an untenable presentation that until they decide that we're worth the discussion, we're going to continue to have without them. The Stop Killing Games initiative is not a full solution for the issue. And it doesn't even affect us Americans. It only affects the EU. Now, given the fact that these issues get discussed in a way where when you discuss these problems across the pond, you have the potential to allow the discussions to directly affect people in such a way where the discussion itself creates new laws for those groups. It creates new laws, it creates new conversations. Those new conversations then in fact create even more laws. That becomes the spectrum upon which the discussion then is decided. And from there, you then get to decide whether or not the person is in fact sane or not sane. Which is better than assume this person is retarded, ignore what they're saying, and assume absolutely nothing is of importance. I know that I'd prefer to have the first one rather than the second one.
Oh yeah.
So, going off of the chat real quick, what game is this? This game is Iron Brigade. It is an old video game that came from the Xbox 360 era.
Man, remember what's the name of that Windows game?
Games for
Windows Lives? Yes, games for Windows. Think that. It's that far old.
Plus, I would say that it's more the developers and the video game publishing journalists being in cahoots with each other more than necessarily going off of this comment from Exocrusher, which says, I blame the gamers as well. We can be mad, but there's a reason why games like FIFA and Fortnite are still popular. It's because there are people who have no taste. The customer is always right in the matter of taste. We cannot attest for the fact that there are people with unrefined palates that are willing to eat slop.
Yeah, I can't fault people that like sports games like that. That's just definitely something that's on them.
Even then, I don't think slop is the right word to use. Because
No.
Burger King isn't slop, but it's also not a 3-star Michelin restaurant. But at the same time, you can't look at Helldivers 2 as the standard. You can't look at Path of Exile as the standard. Because the way that some of us would talk about it, some of us would talk about them like the 5-star Michelin restaurants. Really, what they are dive bars. They are dive ballers. They are hole in the walls. They are businesses that have created a name for themselves by being unique. And thus, that has built into the position that they now command a large spot of a genre of the industry. But that doesn't mean that the majority of those people are willing to play that video game. Hell, how many times have I tried to convince some of you to play these games that I'm playing on camera?
Very hard.
Whether it be because of time, whether it be because of agency, whether it be because of interest, whether it be because of monetary forfeiture, because you don't have the disposable income. Even when the game is free and you can download it through the free stuff bot that announces when things are free on the platforms, there is still going to be some factor, and usually the final factor is time, that prevents you from being able to get into them. Because if you have all of these games to play, sneeze. If you have all these games to play and no time to play them in, when will you have time to play those new video games? Now, I can say, niggas only play games if they got the ability to play with a ball. But honestly, it's not even that. It's just the casual players are the people who you're then looking at that are going to be the ones that decide that conversation in the middle. And the personal perception and the personal achievement, when it comes to that, is that a lot of that is on the back of users trusting themselves to have that response.
Pumps out streams of explosive landmines. The boys have put some camouflage on it so it'll stay hidden from the tubes. Just the slightest touch from a tube, and we'll be swimming in showers of wire and goo.
What goofy fucking animations. Oh my god.
I designed this next turret because I know you're incredibly lazy. The ionized collection prong will suck up nearby scrap. Drop it where you expect some tube carnage to save yourself a trip.
I designed this to pick up scrap for you because I know you're a lazy nit.
I mean, yeah, that's the whole point of that.
But he doesn't know I'm playing the black character. How does he know?
Oh my god.
Customize your trench legs. Each leg type has a different ability that you can
Okay, so I might have to modify my core a bit.
experiment with different legs
Well,
to find out what works.
actually, technically, you could have that replacement because you had the core for it.
I suppose.
Don't worry, you'll get a Gucci'd out mech soon enough.
I don't care about the Gucci.
Well, you don't want to color your mech purple with freaking gold inlaid in it?
Not really. The bells and whistles don't interest me. The effective use interests me.
Oh, then. I mean, there is some options for it.
trying to give me one.
Probably don't have it equipped. That's probably why.
I only have one slot on this cord. I'd have to buy a different cord.
Let's see. Actually, the Selker is like the only one that has the ability to have the mine layer put into it because it has 2 of the grenade explosive engineering class. Don't worry, I got it.
There.
Uh-oh. Here we get again. Huh. Yeah, you should be all set.
Okay. Catching up to the chat room. Industry loves to subvert those types of projects and turn them against the people themselves. I really want to believe in the stop killing games to be set for change when I'm getting nervous. Away the new norm, become the modern audience, get with the program. Well, we can't make the modern audience into Twitch because Twitch is full of people that are the example of that modern audience. I do not trust people who don't have the ability to know what the fuck is being played to be the ones that are going to be left as the ones that discuss the matter or the question at hand on whether or not they get it or not. Because in fact, they do in fact do not get it. They are very stupid in the fact in how they do not get it. They are willful in the fact of how badly they do not get it. It is actually concerning at times, the levels of how badly they do not get it.
This wave could do me in.
And because of the fact that they do not understand how badly they do not get it, it is seemingly a very strange decision, if anything, to be a part of the field that is responsible for that lack of knowledge for how badly they do not get it. Let me throw it back up.
I'm sending down a powerful burst transmitter to destroy them all.
Greetings from Boss, responding to extra pressure. I would be more specific. The new generation of gamers. I kind of doubt people who grew up in the gaming with the 90s and early 2000s even give 2 thoughts like Fortnite and whatnot. Okay, so here's my problem with Fortnite, as it's always been my problem with Fortnite as a whole. I do not like Fortnite because it requires and asks of me too much as a player that many people would argue would be asked too much of them if they were to play something comparative to a video game that only needed them to be involved by only pressing a button. I have seen the same thing being argued and asked of video games such as Destiny 1 and 2. Because most people's perspective on that video game and those types of video games is that they are only willing to get involved as long as they are asked to do the least amount of effort possible. Because the older generation doesn't have a problem with the RTS design. We don't have a problem with spending our time on a campaign. We don't have problems with spending our time in general at all. We just don't like our time being wasted. The newer generations seemingly need a feedback loop where it's not just about enjoying the game that is in front of you, but it's specifically about taking away your ability to enjoy the conversation that's being had, and accepting that on the margin means in the middle, what we're left with at the end of the day is a example use case of how younger children and younger generations are interacting with content, and how newer generations are interacting with content. For that, I would push you to look at Undertale and also for Deltarune, for the exact reasons that you think. Obviously, we have done a disservice to these children, and we have destroyed their ability to interact with critical thinking. Because the critical thinking skills are not fucking there. They're not. They don't engage with these games at all in a way that a normal person would. Because a normal person does not look at a scene and assumes that clearly what Toby Fox was trying to do was to say that the player raped a fictional character, when the entire context of the event itself is about how the character is losing agency or control and is just choosing to go along with what the player wants. Because they really, really like the idea of saying it must be about sexual assault. Because they've learned a very long time ago, early on in their age, that saying it must be about sex is an easy way to get people on your side. And that's fucking weird. It was never meant to be the case that that was the argument that was being asked for by a large view of people. But that's what the conversation became. The conversation, on the whole, became, you want children to engage in sexual content, when what we actually wanted was for children to understand that the thing that they needed to get was the critical thinking skills to have opinions. Not that these were the opinions that they needed to get. Because for one reason or another, they think that repeating the talking points of a grown adult is the same thing as understanding what we're talking about on the whole level. And it's not just online service games. It's not just single-player video games. It's all media. And I mean all media. It's all media in concerns of television. It's all media in terms of film. It's all media in terms of online digital streaming services. It is all media in the form of content material. It is all forms of content being cared for and provided by us to the youth, and the youth somehow coming to the worst interpretation of our arguments because they're impressing their friends online. And we can't shake them from this position because they decided they don't care what the position actually is. They're much more interested in being annoying. And I would argue that the fact that the adults and the minors, adults in this case basically means anybody who's not currently above the age of, I'll be lenient and I'll say 16. Any person who's above the age of 16 is being looked at like they are socially crazy. Because they have to be. Because there's no way that it's happening this often. To the point that it's become a standard on almost every single social media app to say minors do not interact. That is just as bad as as it is as the sign of the time. Because you need the youth in order for them to interact with each other. Because if we were just saying, well, brah, of course they're acting like that. They're just crazy about the games. And you have to understand that it's not just the fucking games. I don't know what's causing it more often than not. But whatever's causing it, they kind of have to come to some level of agreement and say, yeah, we were trolling the adults because we didn't want to agree with them. Yeah, we kind of agree. This is kind of stupid and we're kind of being fallacious and we're doing it on purpose. Yeah, we just wanted to aggravate the fuck out of you guys. We didn't necessarily have a point. We were just being annoying. Because it is the expectation of the exaltation of the youth argument that you have to make this for all generations, including kids. You need all children everywhere to come together like it's the fucking early aughts watching the fucking Jimmy Neutron movie. You need to have the kids in America to tell the adults how they don't get shit. None of that needs to happen. None of that needs to happen. At no point in time do I need to play Fortnite with the kids in order to understand the youths. Because I was a youth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, again, let kids actually have somewhere to go, you know. But at the same time, like, why are we having to coddle them for certain things too?
Whatever has to be done to change this for the better. If that's what we gotta do to do it, we'll do it. But this shit is getting tiresome. Tiresome. It's getting tiresome. Because I don't know if you have a personal opinion about it, but I am tired of media literacy. It needs to stop being media literacy. It needs to start being content literacy.
I'm tired of it just being used as like some big excuse to like, I don't want to freaking engage in a product responsibly. Because that's all it sounds like to me. It's just, I don't want to engage with the topic at hand because I want to be fucking difficult.
That is what it feels like sometimes. It could be from all sides. It could be because the person in question wants to be particularly pissy. Which would be that pirate software position, but instead a Dark Viper AU position. That whether you want to say because you're a content creator who feels like this, or you want to say it's because you're a reviewer who feels like this, or a developer who feels like this, or a publisher, if a publisher ever gave their opinion, who feels like this. at some point, the buck has to stop with somebody. If the buck doesn't stop with us telling you, you can't keep doing this anymore, then it has to start and stop with the past, with the future generation, saying, this far and no further. We saw what you did to them. We're not letting you do this to us. But it appears to be the case that that's not happening. In my mind, excuse me, in my mind, eventually the youth will get to the same position that many of us are in. The way that they'll do it, however, will be a lot more detrimental than us trying to naturally create the conversation for us to be able to communicate with you about how we want to be discussed and how we want to talk about our problems with them.
Oh.
We've reached the northern pylon, which seems to be the source of the broadcast. It was the broadcast that started this whole mess in the first place, and destroying this pylon should end it all. At least it better.
So ultimately, when it comes to the youth and their opinions, I ignore their opinions, mostly because most of them don't even fucking pay for the shit in question. They have their parents pay for it. Because I very rarely I've never found a minor who was, quote, mature for their age, more than I've found a minor who is repeating the talking points of an adult that's been nearby them. Granted, before my audience became 18 plus, I did have users like Soupy Cappy, and Soupy Cappy himself had opinions about the industry, about animation, and things on the whole. But that is one rare example out of how many potential individuals who just want to be nearby the cool thing. Multiply an audience by 1 million, and you're going to have thousands of people like that. Thousands of people, they're just vibing. They don't care about what happens. Tide goes in, Tide goes out. They don't care. 1 week, it's Destiny making fun of conservatives. The next week, it's Stop Killing Games. The next week, it's Asmongold criticizing Destiny for trying to make fun of conservatives. Tide goes in, Tide goes out. That's not going to change. That's not going to change.
Definitely not.
And what I want to prevent, at least my way, for those future generations, is that I want those future generations to not have to watch their favorite game die. Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen to each and every one of you at specific places and times. It doesn't matter what game it is. It doesn't matter if it's your favorite hole in the wall. It doesn't matter if it's your favorite broadcast forever game that finally closed after years of service. It's going to happen. And when it does, you're going to see a group of people who are going to be laughing at your thing, and they're not going to realize that you're going through the end of Evangelion. Preferably, we stop it in the same way in which the issue behind Stop Killing Games was approached. Would you rather be a name on a petition, or would you rather be an unsigned plaintiff on a legal case? Do you want to go to court about it, or do you want to talk about it as one of the many talking heads that's offering one of many perspectives for the industry to begin considering, so we can get somewhere with this issue? If we only address this as a problem until we get to the point that it becomes an issue that requires a dire, drastic case, you're not willing to care because it wasn't your problem before, and then when the issue comes back up, you now care because it's gotten more dramatic, it's more ever invested, it's more pervasive, and it's worse than it was before. If the only way you're able to care is if it's a crisis, you won't be able to respond to the crises correctly. Eventually, just like Marcus said here, eventually that level of drama and crisis will turn your brain to brain rot and mush. So you're not actually able to be critical, and you're not able to react to the content in a proper way. But what you end up reacting to is you're reacting to the reaction. Game dies. People react to the fact that they could have done something to prevent the game from dying. Get mad. You react to the reaction of those first people, and then they react to the reactors. If there was ever a time to use the phrase neo-reactionary, that would have been the case to describe it. Unfortunately, that word got used by political AIDS pigs to try and make fun of people who talked about an issue before they happened. But it applies here to the video game scene. Because that's what it feels like for the developers. It feels like the developers are neo-reactionary. And then the kids, listening to their favorite developer, are taking them for gospel, and they're repeating those talking points.
I mean, constant content farms for the same shit, different day situation. I mean, people just milking it to milk it for this point for money. Not to mention all the fucking... there's so many freaking channels that are just nothing more than content farming and just AI voiceover of Reddit stories and shit.
Yes, 100%. Like, and it's not just video games, it's animation, it's movies, it's everything. It's YouTube shorts poorly narrating and then intentionally cutting off the name of the show that is being content farmed, so that people then end up creating engagement, trying to get answers about what is it they're watching, so that they can be able to go watch it themselves, if they were to find themselves being intrigued.
They're like better commercials, but just shitty.
No, commercials still serve some purpose. And at the minimum, they can serve to be entertaining. These are just shit.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like, how else are you supposed to find out about a show if someone doesn't talk about it?
Proper promotion.
Or you don't watch TV, you watch YouTube instead.
Same thing.
Or you have like YouTube Premium.
Same thing.
Or some other ad blocker.
Same thing. Proper promotion is supposed to be the answer, but nobody does proper promotion because they don't know how to talk to us anymore. They used to think they could talk to us with celebrities, but we don't give a fuck about celebrities. Then they thought that they could talk to us by using influencers. My headset's off. Then they thought they could talk to us by using influencers, but we don't know most of these influencers. We're only willing to pay to support our influencer. I'm not paying to watch a commercial featuring people from fucking Team Liquid trying to sell me a Honda.
I have no clue who those people fucking are. I don't watch esports, so...
I mean, Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, OTK, One True King, the WL community, the Poggers community, large figure streamers that you don't watch, that you've never watched content of, that you're seeing at every press release, every press conference, every government feature, everywhere in general. Pokemon standing to the right while his wife is standing to the left of him while he's talking on the podium at the caucus presentation for the bipartisan team that is designed to be our liaisons between the government and figures like YouTube. Do you really want content creators like Pokemon? Do you want content creators like Destiny? Do you want content creators like Pyrocynical, even though there's nothing necessarily wrong with Pyrocynical? Do you want content creators like you, people you've never met, people who you don't know, people who you don't even litigate, being the ones controlling the perspective and telling you how you should think on the matter?
No.
No! I'm not even saying that you should trust me! Because who the fuck am I? I'm just some guy too. The only difference that I have on them is that I am grassroots. That's it. That's one of few advantages that I have. Because I'm grassroots.
Someone's gonna do it.
Because I'm grassroots, you have watched me develop the position in front of the camera. I didn't just come out of nowhere and start giving these crazy talking points with these overly developed and over-designed YouTube shorts and TikToks, speaking on matters and reacting to people, and becoming a voice of the populace that keeps getting airtime on broadcast channels such as side scrollers, without a single person being able to tell you, wait, where the fuck did single player came from? What does he do for like work? Wait, how does he create? What is actually happening here? Because that's unfortunately what's happened. That's why the modern audience of Twitch, which represents the people who have no brain, tide goes in, tide goes out, their favorite content creator is playing a video game, they're only interested in the drama as far as it entertains them, and the moment that it stops entertaining them, they change the channel and watch something else. But it's not because they disagreed with what the person was doing. They just go where the drama is. They're the equivalent of cable watchers that are only watching primetime television. They're not actually engaged with what's happening. In this situation, for Stop Killing Games, it only benefited us because the target of the drama was against a public movement, and it served their interests to make fun of that guy as a part of a jerkwave. Without that jerkwave, Stop Killing Games dies in the water. That's what's supposed to happen in that situation. That's what's supposed to happen should people not get involved with the movement. If it's not a matter of talking about game ownership, the people on Twitch look at this situation, they say, who's Moldova's fig tree? They look into it, they say, haha, that's funny, we're going to make fun of him on Reddit, and they don't sign the petition. Because they feel that for their own interest, it serves their interest to make fun of him by rubbing it in and being a part of something that's happening, that's why that changes. Oh, I've said that multiple times before, Boster, but just to simply prep it on it, because I feel like I should probably go here, because we got 4 minutes remaining on this. Because I've got things, or rather, I have more content and more broadcasts I need to do. I'm sorry if you feel like your questions didn't get answered fully, everybody. But this is what happens when Carl chooses to stay up late at night. The issue of the fact that this movement only continued and only got steam because of the entire internet reacting to one content creator who was put up as the face of the industry, because no one else was willing to enter into the forum before he chose to dominate it. This is not good press, and it's certainly not good advertisement. It's not the best of what we can offer the internet. It's not the best of what we can offer content creators. It's not the best of what we can offer the audience. It's not the best of what we can offer from the publishers and the developers. And for the normies who have no skin in the game, they're going to look at this and be completely freaked the fuck out by this. Because for us, this is culture. This is normal. For them, they just watched a harassment campaign. Am I wrong or am I right? I was asking you, Alex. From the position of Stop Killing Games, the way that Jason Thor Hall has presented himself in his argument to the internet, help, I'm being harassed, they're stalking me, they're doxing me, they're wishing death on me, they're swatting me. A normal person hearing about this for the first time, without being told anything about Stop Killing Games, would automatically assume that he is being fucking harassed into the floor.
Oh yeah. A normal person that doesn't know what's going on, but honestly, they like this content creator, so they're gonna fucking look into it on their own time, only to find out what really is going on. I'm pretty sure they'll make their own decision. You know, unless they, like, of course, don't care and, you know, just follow the word, or blindly follow the word of the content creator. But at that point, I'm like, there's more going on with them than it is us.
I'm not even sure about that anymore. I've seen more people openly accept information from nowhere just because it happens to be in their camp of information and came from their favorite group, rather than actually being able to put their fucking name and their will behind it and understand that this shit is not acceptable any way that it's happening. Which is unfortunate. Also, thank you, Bolster.
That's just how it feels like on the internet at this point. Because like anyone could just blindly follow because they don't have the consequences to deal with it. Like they can just blindly follow someone and not care about the consequences because how is it going to affect them really? Until it actually affects them at that point. Then they'll like, oh, they'll quickly change the tune as soon as they get hit.
That tends to be the case, but there are no real consequences on the internet. They're just random people.
There really isn't.
They're just regular niggas and niggas. They're regular people. They're normal men and women, and as far as they're concerned, none of this is real because they don't have stake in the game. Technically, you do because you're now concerned to the direction of politics. You might not be interested in the politics of the problem, but it's deeply interested in you. If you're not interested in the way that developers are fucking you in the ass, because whether they are or are not, they are your enemy until they are your ally, or at very minimum, they're the green guest NPC in your game of Fire Emblem that you have yet to recruit into being a member of your party. They are as much as your enemy as the publisher is your enemy. Just as much as the localizer, just as much as the shareholder, just as much as other players that are completely misinformed and have a nonsensical understanding of where they're coming from. And as are the people in the middle. Which is why most of the time, I'm not even necessarily interested in speaking to the extremes. Because if I wanted to preach to the choir, I could. The entire purpose of this show is not just for people in my audience to talk to me, but for anyone who has enough of a passionate opinion to be able to speak on something that I may or may not be talking about, and to bring it to my face so that I cannot run away from the issue. Very rarely, actually never so far, have we seen a person do this for the broadcast. It'll eventually happen soon. Somehow. If I'm controversial enough, it will definitely happen. Especially with what I have coming up to play in the side of August. But it is my perspective that unfortunately, that is not the case. Normal people don't know what the fuck's going on, but I can promise you within the last 3 months, they know what Twitch is now. Because of Hassan Piker. Because anti-Semitism. So if you then tell...
Come back. There you go.
What's causing is my internet died. Where was I? If you have an entire contingency of people who are being told that this kind of information and behavior is happening on the internet, they're simply just going to not look into it. It's like if you ask somebody a question and they don't answer your question with a direct answer, you're just not going to care. Like if I ask you, or rather, let me give you an example. If I am playing a game of Repo, as I was with mutuals from inside of Short Fat Otaku's Discord, who are moderators in his audience, and in that group of people in that play session are full of trolls that they get their fun out of torturing and victimizing other players who are uninformed about things because they don't understand the kind of person that they're dealing with. And that person asks them information about something. Like, why is this grenade called a human grenade when this other grenade is not called a human grenade? And they were to set that grenade off in your hand and blew up your hand and blew up your face. Are you going to be laughing along with them when after you've lost your hand, your face has been surgically reconstructed, and you now have to go through life missing your hand and half of your face? Are you going to be laughing along with, oh yeah, it was really funny when you called him Moldovi's fig tree? No. They're going to hate you because you molested them of information. Period. You molested them for information and treated them like they were fucking stupid. It's extremely fucking dumb. It's one thing if you do it to yourself because you're fucking around and being an idiot, which was the case of the guy playing around with the M80s. When you're doing it to other people in your movement and you are gatekeeping information that is necessary for them to support said movement, while gatekeeping can be great keeping, you cannot gatekeep the information necessary to solve problems on the ground. Because the problems on the ground will persist and continue until other people understand the problem. If there's a leak in the house, and I can't solve the leak because you won't tell me what room it's in, and you also stop me from doing an inspection to figure out where the leak is, then I can't do business with you. And I'm going to go to my own devices, and if your house floods, that's your fault. So, it is the job of people not just to be a part of the movement, but to also inform other people about the movement the proper way around, which requires good marketing and, at some level, good commercial. You need to have researchers, you need to have talkers, you need to have encyclopedias, you need to have broadcasters, you need to have scientists, you need every single type of thing that already exists in the other side of the spectrum for yourselves in order to properly set up any kind of communication going towards what you want. Because you don't have it right now. We don't. Individual content creators are not unified on this goal whatsoever. They are not agreed that this is something that needs to be focused on and needs to be done. What they're at the mercy of is that their entire viewpoints are dominated by whether or not their audiences are bigger than the other guy's audience. Because the biggest audience is the one that's able to take the entire pie. And unfortunately, until the conversation stops being dominated by the same 5 to 10 figures, you're not going to see real change. Because you're not seeing real conversations happening. No one's getting to the real depth of the issue because the conversation is being floated by the chatters in that person's audience and them bouncing off of what the audience is saying. It doesn't need to be a feedback loop of positive reinforcement from the broadcaster. It needs to be you having a strong position and then the broadcaster having a strong position, and then when people disagree with the broadcaster is able to lay out why they have that opinion and why this person has the opinion, and being able to find compromise in the middle and understand the goddamn problem whatsoever. So that when that content creator talks to another content creator, when those two have their own disagreements about their position, it's not both of them trying to say what is best to get the other side to take the lion's share of their audience to make them into their audience members. It's about everyone being able to agree that at some level, there is a level of asks that each of us can put into a movement. And what we put into that movement is like putting items into a time capsule. Because when it comes to the American side of the issue, and it will come soon, the American side has to be able to say, well, here's what single player Carl wants, and here's what Horror and Hellfire wants, and here's what Asmongold wants, and here's what Pirate Software says he thinks that the industry wants, and here's what the industry wants, and here's what the developers want, and here's what consumers want, and here's what customers want, and here's what the player base in those games want. And the more people add into this time capsule, and then we rediscover it in 10 years, after we've dug up the laws concerning what we're trying to deal with, then we'll be able to make a proper decision. Of course, the legalese of this has to happen on the fucking House basis. Literally in the House. It needs to happen in the Senate, it needs to happen in the House, it has to be decided from the fucking Supreme Court. And unfortunately, we don't even have that on the litigation of fair use. So how the fuck are we finna find about video game development?
We don't. We can't. Someone has to be large enough and virtuous enough and has the stick of God from everybody on the internet unanimously agrees that, hey, we should probably change this for the better without anybody coming out and being a shitter about it or try to stir the pot for drama sake or to content farm off of this one person because they said something dumb or did something retarded or any other nonsense they might have got themselves into.
Ultimately, it can't be one person. We've seen what it looks like when one person tries to control something because they quote are saving it, and it looks like Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's... But even then, it's hard to get a group together for some reason because then people, apparently we can't work together or put our decisions aside long enough to get something done.
Differing agendas. People want a benefit in the short term. They don't want a benefit in the long term. They will happily take instant gratification and instant success over delayed gratification in the long term. And those that are willing to do delayed gratification, people want to be the leader of the ship and, quote, want to be the main character and want to pump the gas. And unfortunately, some people can't pump the gas because it's not their place and it's not their time. Everybody has to be recognized for their efforts, but not enough people are being recognized for those collective efforts, period. There are multiple analogies that matter to war for this, but in this video game era, there is really no way for us to describe this on the modern terms, because in order to understand influencer culture, you have to understand the different types of influencers. And unfortunately, the safe old bastion that are the Twitch content creators that are attaching themselves to movements. Pokimane showing up in her prim proper dress, and then going back to harassing her fucking fans for not buying her fucking white label cookies. That can't fly. That can't fly. You cannot have them there. Because the old guard doesn't give a fuck. They're the reason why the ladder's already pulled up to begin with. We had to construct a new ladder because the ladder got pulled away from them. Or pulled away by them. So now we gotta do war on another entire Western Front? Because of content creators that just can't accept that they're not gonna be the main character in this new event? And certain kinds of figures deciding that they're gonna make money on the end because they would rather destroy any opportunity for conversation because they don't have true faith in whether or not something will work or even want to give it a fair chance to work. Before they go back to trying to make as much money as humanly possible, farming people and analogies and situations, it can't happen. Anyways, it is 4 or 6 p.m. I'm going to start cooking dinner now. Thank you, everybody, for calling in. And thank you, Alex and Saf, for the springboard of the conversation. I would suggest if you have anything you would like to add, ladies and gentlemen that are currently sitting in the gallery, write it down and put it inside of a printing press express post. And we will try to talk it out in the DMs there. Or save it till next Yap-In. There will be another Yap-In happening sooner than Sunday next week. It'll probably be on Tuesday, which is also movie night day. It'll happen earlier in the day, and then movie night will happen in the evening as normal.
Hopefully.
Also, before I leave, one more thing. There is a mutual of mine by the name of the Gator Gamer. He is going to be graduating soon, in August, on the 15th.
Nice.
He is a VTuber. No, graduation's bad. He is a VTuber, and he'll be changing up the kind of content that he does once he retires his VTuber persona. So, I would like if you all were to go there and to at least follow his account on X and look up his broadcast, the Anime Boomers podcast. If you look at it and you watch it very heavily, very soon, throughout August, you're going to see something really interesting happen. That's all I'm at liberty to say at this time. However, thank you all for showing up. Thank you for coming to another Yap-In with Carl. I shall be taking my leave. Bon nuit. Bon nuit to you all. Boop, 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 boop.